There's something quietly stealing the vision of millions of older adults every single day. It doesn't happen all at once. It begins subtly. You start squinting at your morning newspaper thinking it's just the lighting. Headlights at night suddenly feel too bright. Have you found yourself avoiding driving after dusk? Not because you're tired, but because the glare on the road feels blinding. And then one day, you're sitting across from your granddaughter, and you can't quite make out her eyes clearly. It's like there's a faint fog between you and the people you love. That's not your imagination. That's not just age. That's a cataract. Cataracts aren't a rare condition. In fact, by age 80, more than half of all Americans have them, or have had surgery to remove them. But what many people don't realize is that they often start much earlier. In your 60s or even your late 50s, for some cataracts may already be forming silently, painlessly, and relentlessly. Have you noticed any of these small but persistent symptoms in your own life? It's not just about blurry vision. It's about losing confidence, avoiding driving, missing details on faces, and struggling to enjoy the simple act of reading a book or watching your favorite show. It's the quiet fear that you're slowly losing your independence, and worse, that nothing can be done about it. But here's the truth I want to gently bring to you today. There are things you can do starting today. Simple, natural actions that can help slow this process and protect your vision, especially the food you eat. And some of the most powerful allies for your eyes aren't found in expensive pills or complicated treatments. They're in the nuts you might already have sitting in your kitchen. If that sounds helpful to you, feel free to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Because we're about to uncover how 4 everyday nuts could help you hold on to something you value more than anything, your clear, confident vision. Let's begin with the first one, a little nut with big antioxidant power almonds. You might see almonds as just a healthy snack, but to your eyes, especially after 60, they could be a quiet line of defense. Let me explain why. One of the biggest drivers of cataracts is something called oxidative stress. That's a medical way of saying that your eye's lens is being slowly damaged by unstable molecules called free radicals. These little troublemakers build up from things like sunlight exposure, pollution, and even everyday metabolism. And your lens, the clear part of your eye that focuses light, can't repair itself the way skin or muscle does. Once it starts to cloud, the process tends to snowball. That's where vitamin E steps in. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants we know of. It protects the cells in your lens from oxidative damage, kind of like putting up a shield against rust. And guess what? Almonds are one of the richest natural sources of vitamin E on the planet. Just a small handful a day, about 20 to 25 almonds can provide up to 50% of your daily vitamin E needs. But more importantly, it builds up over time. You don't just eat almonds today and wake up tomorrow with perfect vision. You eat them consistently, and you're giving your eyes a fighting chance to stay clearer for longer. I want to tell you about someone I worked with, Margaret, a 68-year-old retired librarian. She came to me not because of pain, but because of frustration. I used to read every night before bed, she said. But now the words blur together. I keep rubbing my eyes thinking it's fatigue. I've stopped reading to my grandkids because I can't follow the pages anymore. Her eye exam showed early-stage cataracts. They weren't bad enough for surgery, but they were enough to dim the joy in her life. We didn't rush to the operating room. Instead, we looked at her diet. She barely ate nuts. We started small almonds with her afternoon tea 6 days a week. Consistent, nothing extreme. Have you ever felt a similar frustration with your vision? 3 months later, Margaret called me not to say her cataracts were gone, but to share something even better. She said, "I can read again. Not for hours, but enough to finish a chapter before bed. I'm reading Charlotte's Web to Lily again." That's the power of a tiny nut giving someone a piece of their life back. Now, I'm not claiming almonds are a cure, but when you feed your body the right tools, especially antioxidants like vitamin E, you support the natural defenses that slow cataract progression. So if you're pouring yourself a cup of coffee or tea today, Grab a handful of almonds, too. Your eyes will thank you in the years to come. Next, we'll talk about a nut that's often overlooked, yet it's packed with omega-3s that your eyes desperately need. If almonds are your eye's antioxidant shield, then walnuts are their fuel line. You see, while antioxidants like vitamin E help prevent damage to the lens, your eyes also need proper blood flow to stay healthy, especially the small, delicate vessels that feed the retina and the lens. After 60, circulation becomes more sluggish. The tiny capillaries that deliver oxygen and nutrients to your eyes don't flow as freely as they used to. That's where omega-3 fatty acids come in. Specifically, a type called ALA, or alpha-linolenic acid. Now you've probably heard about omega-3s from fish oil. But here's the surprising part. Walnuts are the richest plant-based source of omega-3s you can eat. These healthy fats help reduce inflammation, improve blood vessel flexibility, and support smooth, steady circulation to the eye. That means more nutrients reaching your lens, and less chance of that lens clouding over due to nutrient deprivation. I once worked with a retired mailman named Charles. He was 72, lean, active, and walked every day, but his vision at night had become a real issue. He told me, "Doc, I can handle the steps in the rain, but headlights I freeze up. I just can't see through the glare anymore." His cataracts were mild, but what stood out in his blood work was chronically low omega-3 levels. He didn't eat fish, and he avoided nuts because he thought they were fattening. We added just 7 walnut halves a day to his breakfast routine. That's it. A small step every morning. 6 weeks later, he reported something unexpected. "I drove home last night, and the lights didn't paralyze me. I was nervous, but I made it." Have you ever felt that anxiety or fear about driving at night? His confidence was coming back. His night vision wasn't perfect, but it was improving. And he was no longer afraid of the one thing that made him feel old, losing his freedom to drive. I can't stress this enough. Nutrition for your eyes is not a magic bullet. It's momentum. Every walnut, every day, adds up to a lifetime of better blood flow, stronger vessels, and less inflammation in the parts of your body that matter most. And here's something practical. Walnuts are best absorbed with a little protein like Greek yogurt or oatmeal. They're not just a snack. They're medicine that happens to taste good. So if your vision seems fine during the day, but you dread nightfall, maybe it's not just age. Maybe your eyes are starving for the right kind of fat. And walnuts' humble, wrinkled little things might be exactly what they're asking for. Next, we'll look at a nut that doesn't get nearly enough credit. One that's creamy, a little sweet, and incredibly powerful for protecting your retina. Of all the nuts on this list, cashews are probably the most underestimated. They're soft, creamy, and slightly sweet, often tossed into trail mix or curries. But what many people don't know is that they're packed with 2 nutrients your eyes absolutely depend on after 60, zinc and lutein. Let's start with zinc. Zinc is like a delivery truck for vitamin A. It helps shuttle this essential vitamin from your liver to your retina, specifically to a part of the retina called the retinal pigment epithelium, which is crucial for seeing in low light. Without enough zinc, this delivery slows down, and that means your retina can't function at full capacity. You might notice it as trouble adjusting from light to dark, or that nagging sensation when you walk from a sunny sidewalk into a dim room and everything just stays dark. Now, lutein is another star player. It's a carotenoid, a plant pigment that builds up in your macula, the center of your retina. Think of lutein as internal sunglasses. It filters harmful blue light and protects your retinal cells from light-induced damage, especially from screens and sunlight. Here's the catch: your body doesn't make lutein. You have to get it from food. And cashews contain a small but steady dose enough to make a real difference over time when eaten regularly. Let me tell you about Anita, a 64-year-old church pianist. Her vision had started to play tricks on her during evening services. She described the hymnal pages as washed out under fluorescent lights, and she had trouble shifting her gaze from bright stage lights to the dark pews. Her diet was clean but very low in minerals. We added a simple change, a serving of cashews, about 16 to 18 nana. No, every evening with a slice of fruit. Have you experienced similar issues with visual contrast or adjusting to different lighting? Within 2 months, she didn't just report better visual contrast. She told me she could find her car in the parking lot at night without hesitation. She said, "I don't have to squint at shadows anymore. I feel safer. I feel sharper." Cashews won't reverse full-blown vision loss, but they do something that's often overlooked. They nourish your retina. They support the cells responsible for absorbing light, sending clear signals to your brain, and helping you process the world around you. And when you're in your 60s or 70s, even small boosts in visual clarity can mean the difference between confidence and hesitation. So if you've noticed colors look duller, or if your eyes feel slower to adjust between lighting changes, your retina may be asking for a little extra support. Cashews might be one of the simplest ways to answer that need. Coming up next is one more nut, often seen as the cheapest but surprisingly powerful for lens health and protecting against clouding the peanut. They're everywhere. In vending machines and lunchboxes, even on airplane trays. And because they're so common, many people dismiss peanuts as junk food, or at best, a cheap snack. But if you're over 60 and trying to protect your eyes, it's time to take peanuts seriously. You see, while peanuts aren't technically true nuts, they're legumes, their nutrient profile is remarkably eye-friendly. First, they're high in niacin, also known as vitamin B3. Niacin plays a vital role in energy metabolism and blood vessel health, particularly in the small vessels behind the eyes. These vessels supply nutrients to the lens, and when they're inflamed, narrowed, or weak, the lens becomes more vulnerable to clouding. Peanuts also offer a healthy amount of resveratrol, a natural compound also found in red wine, known for its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. And unlike many processed snacks, plain roasted peanuts contain a solid balance of plant-based protein, healthy fats, and trace minerals, including magnesium, which supports nerve signaling between the eye and the brain. I once worked with a man named Dennis. He was 70, retired from the post office, and proud of staying active, but his eyesight was frustrating him. "I can't read street signs until I'm practically on top of them," he told me. He had mild cataracts, but his lens clarity was worsening faster than expected. He wasn't big on supplements, and he refused to eat fish, but he loved peanuts. He just hadn't thought of them as useful. We made one change. He swapped his late-night cookie habit with a palm full of dry roasted peanuts, unsalted, no candy coating. He did this 5 nights a week, along with his evening walk. Have you ever felt frustrated with your vision in situations like this? 3 months later, he came in with a grin and said, "Doc, I don't know what's in those peanuts, but I can read the license plates again." Now, was it a miracle? Of course not. But in his case, the added niacin and protein likely improved blood flow and reduced oxidative stress around the lens. That small change helped stabilize his vision and gave him back a sense of independence. Too often, we assume only exotic superfoods or expensive eye formulas can help. But sometimes the simplest foods, the ones we overlook, can make the biggest difference. So if you've got a jar of peanuts in your pantry, don't ignore it. A handful a day, especially as a snack between lunch and dinner, might just be one of the easiest ways to support your lens health naturally. The good news: you don't need to remember which nut does what, because in the next part I'll show you exactly how to put all 4 into a simple, sustainable routine without overthinking or overspending. You don't need a complicated diet plan or a shelf full of supplements to support your eyes. What you need is a habit. A small, doable rhythm you can repeat each day without stress, without guessing, Here's a routine I've recommended to dozens of patients over the past 10 years. It's simple, it's flexible, and yes, it's tasty. In the morning, as you pour your coffee or tea, add a handful of almonds, about 20 to 25 pieces. They're rich in vitamin E, and when paired with something warm, they digest more smoothly and help start the day with steady antioxidant protection. Around midday with lunch or shortly after, include walnuts. Just 6 to 8 halves is enough. You can sprinkle them over a salad, stir into oatmeal, or eat them plain with a few apple slices. These deliver the omega-3s your eye vessels crave to stay open and nourished. In the late afternoon, especially if you tend to get hungry around 3 or 4 p.m., go for cashews, about 15 to 18 nuts. They help boost zinc and lutein right before your evening light exposure increases, like watching television or looking at your phone. And finally, after dinner, instead of reaching for sweets, try a small serving of peanuts, a gentle way to end the day with protein niacin and a bit of resveratrol. About 1 closed handful is enough. Pair it with a few grapes or a square of dark chocolate, and it can satisfy your craving without raising blood sugar too fast. Now here's the key. You don't need to be perfect. You don't have to eat all 4 nuts every day, but aim for at least 2 varieties daily and rotate them throughout your week. And if portioning is tricky, make it easy. Use small jars or snack bags to pre-pack them for the week. That way, there's no decision to make. When the moment comes, you just reach for the right one. Some of my patients like keeping a nut box on the counter, a little organizer with each type labeled for each day. It sounds silly, but for a lot of people, that small visual reminder makes the difference between forgetting and building a real habit. What I love most about this routine is that it doesn't just serve your eyes. It also supports your brain, heart, skin, and energy levels. It's not another task. It's a gift you give your future self. Because the goal isn't perfection. It's momentum. And momentum starts with something as simple as a handful of almonds before breakfast. Now, let's bring everything together with one final message I want you to carry forward, especially if you've been quietly worrying about your vision. If there's one thing I hope you take from today's video, it's this. Losing your vision after 60 is not inevitable. Yes, aging brings changes, but cataracts don't have to rob you of the things you love. Reading the paper, recognizing your loved ones' faces, driving with confidence, or simply watching a sunset without strain. You are not powerless, and you're certainly not alone. Every small choice you make, every almond, every walnut, every cashew, every peanut adds up, not just in your eyes, but in how you feel about life. Clearer vision leads to more independence. More independence means more freedom, and freedom means you can keep showing up for the people and moments that matter most. I've seen it again and again, people in their 60s, 70s, and even early 80s regaining clarity, not just in sight, but in spirit. And often it starts with something as simple as changing what's in their hand at snack time. If you've made it this far into the video, I want to thank you. Truly, your time, your trust, it means more than I can say. And if you found even a glimmer of hope or a helpful idea here today, I gently invite you to do one thing. Click like. Share this video with someone who's been quietly struggling with their vision. Leave a comment below, even if it's just to say, I'm starting today. And if you're new here, consider hitting subscribe so we can keep walking this journey together. Because we don't just talk about symptoms, we talk about solutions, we talk about hope, and we talk about you, the whole person behind the diagnosis. Take care of your vision, take care of your life, and remember, you are worth every effort.